Some doors should never be opened at night because sometimes something is already standing behind them. The apartment smelled like wet walls, cigarette smoke, and something rotten hidden deep inside the pipes. Rain hit the broken windows every night like cold fingers tapping from outside. The building stood in the middle of a violent neighborhood where police sirens screamed until sunrise and people disappeared without explanation. Everyone in the complex locked their doors early. Nobody trusted the dark there, especially not 12-year-old Daniel. He lived with his younger sister Lily and their exhausted mother in apartment 46B, a tiny place at the end of a narrow hallway where the lights flickered constantly. Sometimes the hallway bulbs exploded for no reason. Sometimes neighbors heard footsteps running upstairs even though nobody lived above them. Their mother always said the same thing: ignore the noises, sleep early, never open the door after midnight. Daniel thought she only said that because the area was dangerous. Until the night he saw the woman. That night felt wrong from the beginning. The air inside the apartment was freezing cold even though it was summer. Lily complained that someone was whispering outside her bedroom wall. Their mother became strangely nervous and checked every lock 3 different times before going to bed. At exactly 2:13 a.m., Daniel woke up thirsty. The apartment was silent. Too silent. No traffic. No sirens. No barking dogs. It felt like the entire world outside had died. He slowly climbed out of bed and opened his bedroom door. The hallway was dark except for a weak yellow light coming from the kitchen. Then he saw her. A woman stood motionless at the end of the hallway. She wore an old white lace dress stained dark around the bottom, as if it had been dragged through muddy water. A thin veil covered part of her face. Long black hair hung over her shoulders like wet ropes. But her skin looked blue, rotting, like a corpse pulled from deep water. Daniel froze instantly. The woman was not looking at him. She was staring directly into Lily's bedroom, completely still, not blinking, not moving, just watching. Daniel felt every hair on his body rise. His throat became dry. He wanted to scream for his mother, but his voice refused to come out. Then the woman slowly tilted her head. Crack. The sound came from her neck. Too far. Too unnatural. Her mouth stretched into a horrible smile. And Daniel realized something even worse. Her chest was moving. She was breathing. Slow. Wet. Heavy breathing. The hallway suddenly smelled like dead flowers and dirty water. Daniel felt tears forming in his eyes as the woman began taking tiny steps toward Lily's door. Step. 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 Her bare feet made soft, wet sounds against the floor. Daniel finally forced himself to move. He slammed his bedroom door shut and crawled under his blanket, shaking violently. He stayed awake until morning, listening to slow footsteps outside his room. Back and forth, back and forth. At sunrise, the sound stopped. When Daniel entered the kitchen, his mother already looked terrified, like she knew. Before he could speak, Lily walked into the room pale and silent. I saw a woman last night, she whispered. Their mother dropped her coffee mug. It shattered across the floor. For several seconds, nobody spoke. Then their mother grabbed Daniel's arm so tightly it hurt. You never talk about this again, she said in a trembling voice. Do you understand me? Daniel stared at her in confusion. What was that thing? Their mother's face turned white. But before she could answer, 3 loud knocks echoed from the apartment door. Boom, boom, boom. Everyone jumped. Their mother slowly walked toward the door and looked through the peephole. Then she stepped backward in horror. There was nobody there, but muddy wet footprints suddenly appeared outside Lily's bedroom. Fresh footprints, barefoot, leading inside, and stopping directly beside her bed. That night, Lily refused to sleep alone. But around 3 a.m., she disappeared, and the hallway smelled like rotten water again. When children disappear, the building stays silent because the walls already know the truth. The police searched the apartment for 6 hours. They checked closets, under beds, inside vents, even the basement beneath the building. But Lily was gone. No broken window, no open door, no sign of kidnapping. It was as if the darkness itself had swallowed her whole. Daniel sat frozen on the living room couch while officers questioned his mother again and again. She looked completely broken. Her hands shook nonstop, and she kept staring toward the hallway like she expected something to appear there. One officer finally asked the question everyone was thinking. Did your daughter ever talk about running away? Before their mother could answer, Daniel whispered quietly. She took her. The room became silent. The officer frowned. Who? Daniel looked toward Lily's bedroom. The woman in white. His mother suddenly screamed. Stop talking about her. Everyone jumped. The officer exchanged uncomfortable looks with his partner. They clearly thought stress had destroyed the family's minds. After another hour, they finally left. But Daniel noticed something strange before they walked out. One of the older officers stopped near the apartment door. He looked down the hallway. His face slowly lost color. Then he turned toward Daniel's mother and whispered something Daniel barely heard. She's back. His mother started crying immediately. The officer left without another word. That night, rain poured endlessly outside. Their mother locked every window and pushed the dining table against the front door. She kept every light in the apartment on. Even then, shadows filled the corners unnaturally, stretching across walls like moving fingers. Daniel couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he imagined Lily alone somewhere dark with that horrible woman breathing beside her. At around 2:47 a.m., a soft sound came from outside. Laughing. A little girl laughing. Daniel's eyes snapped open. The sound came from the playground outside the apartment complex. Slowly, he walked toward the living room window. Rain covered the glass. The swings outside moved gently back and forth on their own. Creak, creak, creak. Then lightning flashed across the sky, and Daniel saw her. The woman in white stood beside the swing set, perfectly still beneath the rain. Her dress hung soaked against her body. Her blue skin looked swollen and rotten beneath the weak parking lot lights. And beside her, Lily stood silently holding her hand. Daniel's heart nearly exploded. Lily. The little girl slowly turned toward the building. Her face looked wrong, too pale. Her mouth hung slightly open, and her eyes, completely black. Another flash of lightning illuminated the playground. The woman smiled. Then both of them vanished. Daniel screamed for his mother. She rushed to the window, saw the empty swings moving alone, and immediately pulled the curtains shut. We're leaving tomorrow, she whispered. But deep down, Daniel knew something terrible. The woman wasn't outside anymore. She was inside. That realization came moments later. A wet sound echoed from the hallway. Drip, drip, drip. Daniel and his mother turned slowly. Wet footprints covered the floor again. Fresh, barefoot, leading toward Lily's bedroom. The bedroom door creaked open by itself. Inside the darkness, someone was breathing. Heavy, slow, gurgling breaths. Daniel's mother grabbed a kitchen knife with trembling hands and stepped forward carefully. Stay behind me. The hallway light began flickering violently. On, off, on, off. During one brief flash of darkness, Daniel heard whispering. A woman whispering softly. She was lonely. The light returned. The footprints were closer now, halfway down the hallway. But nobody was there. Their mother pushed Lily's bedroom door open wider. The room smelled unbearable. Rotten water, mold, dead flowers, and something else. Something like decaying flesh. Then Daniel noticed movement beneath Lily's bed. His mother saw it too. Slowly, very slowly, a woman crawled out from underneath. Bones cracking, limbs bending unnaturally. Her veil dragged across the carpet, soaked in black water. Her blue face lifted upward inch by inch until her dead white eyes locked onto Daniel. And then she spoke for the first time. In a broken, wet voice. She said you would come too. The lights exploded instantly. Darkness consumed the apartment. And somewhere inside the blackness, Lily began screaming. Some ghosts do not haunt houses, they haunt bloodlines. Lily's screams echoed through the darkness like an animal being torn apart. Daniel dropped to the floor, covering his ears, while shattered glass continued raining from the ceiling. The apartment became completely black except for tiny flashes of lightning outside the windows. Then silence returned. A horrible silence. Their mother screamed Lily's name and swung the kitchen knife wildly into the darkness. Get away from my children. For one brief second, lightning illuminated the bedroom. The woman was gone, but the room was filled with black water. It spread across the carpet unnaturally fast, carrying the disgusting smell of rot and dead flowers. Daniel could hear something moving inside it. Splashing, crawling, breathing. Then another lightning flash revealed Lily standing silently in the corner of the room. Her white nightgown was soaked black. Water dripped from her hair. Her face remained hidden downward. Lily, Daniel whispered weakly. She slowly lifted her head. Her eyes were completely white now. No pupils, no emotion, only empty white staring directly at them. Their mother ran toward her crying, but Lily suddenly opened her mouth impossibly wide. A deep choking sound came from inside her throat. Not a child's voice. Something older. Something dead. She belongs to me now. The voice echoed through the apartment walls. Then Lily's body violently twisted backward. Crack. Her spine bent at an impossible angle. Their mother screamed in horror. Daniel stumbled backward, shaking uncontrollably as Lily began walking toward them with broken, jerking movements. Black water poured from her mouth with every step. But suddenly, a loud banging exploded from the front door. Boom, boom, boom. The entire apartment shook. Then a familiar voice shouted from outside. Open the door. It was Officer Raymond, the old police officer from earlier. Their mother rushed to unlock the door while Lily began screaming violently behind them. The moment Raymond entered the apartment, his face turned pale. "Oh God," he whispered. In his trembling hands, he carried an old photograph. Inside the picture stood the exact same woman in white, but the photo looked ancient, at least 50 years old. Raymond looked directly at Daniel. "She was murdered here." Thunder shook the building. Raymond explained quickly between terrified breaths. Decades ago, before the apartment complex existed, the land had contained an old psychiatric hospital. A young woman named Evelyn lived there after losing her daughter. People said grief destroyed her mind. One night, nurses found her standing beside the hospital playground wearing a white funeral dress, holding her dead child's body. Both had drowned in the nearby lake. Days later, Evelyn disappeared. Then children inside the hospital began vanishing. One by one, some were later found drowned. Others were never found at all. Before the hospital was demolished, workers discovered something horrifying beneath the old playground. Tiny human bones, dozens of them. And in the center, Evelyn's body, still wearing the white dress, still smiling. "She attaches herself to children," Raymond whispered, "especially frightened ones." The apartment lights suddenly turned blood red. Every wall began dripping black water. Lily floated slowly upward off the ground. Her neck twisted unnaturally as the woman's voice spoke again through her mouth. She was alone. "Now I won't be." Then Daniel noticed something terrifying behind Lily. The woman in white stood there again, closer than ever before. Her rotting blue face looked swollen with decay. Worms moved slowly beneath her skin. Her dead eyes locked onto Daniel, while her wet smile stretched wider and wider. And then, she pointed directly at him. Daniel felt freezing hands suddenly grab his ankles from beneath the floor. Children's hands, dozens of them, pulling him downward. Screaming filled the apartment from every direction. Raymond fired his gun. The deafening blast echoed through the darkness. The woman disappeared instantly. Lily collapsed unconscious onto the floor. And just like that, everything stopped. The water vanished. The red lights disappeared. Silence returned once more. After that night, they left the apartment forever. Lily survived, but she never remembered what happened inside that room. Their mother refused to speak about Evelyn again. Officer Raymond retired 2 weeks later, and 3 months afterward, he was found drowned in his bathtub. Daniel is 32 years old now. He still wakes up some nights unable to move, still smelling rotten flowers in the darkness, still hearing wet footsteps outside his bedroom door. But the worst part happened recently. Last week, his daughter asked him a question before bed, a question that made his blood turn to ice. "Daddy, who's the smiling woman outside my window?" If you enjoyed this terrifying story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment your scariest experience below, because sometimes the things watching us in the dark are very, very real.